guys, and welcome back to the HobbyDude007 channel. Over the last 8 or 10 videos, I've received a number of comments, whether it be on the video, whether it be Facebook Messenger, or even emails, regarding a specific tool. So what do you use to do this or that? Or you mentioned a tool, what was that? And I thought while I was cleaning up a portion of the workbench over here, it would be a good time to go ahead and cover some of these tools that I use that are some, I guess, would be considered specialty tools, but most of them I use on just about every project. So I thought, hey, it'd be a great time just to go over tools again. I think I did this way back, and I don't think I covered everything that I want to go over this time. Some of them will be the basic tools, and some of them will get into a little more advanced stuff, but things that I like that make life a lot easier. Some are a little pricey. Some, for the most part, though, are very affordable. So let's get into tool time. I think it goes without saying that the most essential and basic tool in every modeler's arsenal should be hobby knife. I have a number of hobby knives on the workbench, some with different configuration of blades for different uses. I have two that I keep here. This one I've had probably about 35 years, but I keep two on the bench with fresh number 11 blades at the start of every project, and I change those out as I need them. The X-Acto brand blades are really good, but the Excel brand I find to be about equal, and I buy those in packs of 100 at a time. But really good blades, but they're really good. I also keep a handle around that's got a chisel blade on it, and again I change this as needed. But these chisel blades are awesome. I keep these things in use quite a bit. When it comes to scraping or getting into a corner on a chassis or something, these things are really, really good. Also, the Little Luca. This thing I have used in tight spots, and you notice the blade that I've got on this is a little bit different configuration as well. But a good little knife. I picked this one up at a hobby shop years ago. I guess you can still get them, but it's just basically a cut down kind of handle there, and like I said, I use it for a couple of different little things. One of my more recent hobby knife acquisitions has been this thing from Harbor Freight, and I got to admit, I like this thing. Most of us know that hobby knives can roll, and if they roll off the bench and happen to go down point first, which Murphy's Law often they do, and hit your foot, that ain't good, especially if you're wearing sandals or flip-flops. But anyway, this thing from Harbor Freight has this little raised section here on it, so it won't do that. And I have relatively small hands, and this thing just fits perfect. It's got a rubberized grip to it, and you got your cover. These blades are really sharp too, guys. These things are really nice. And you notice that it's got a little, it's not like the number 11 blade, but 8 does the same thing. It also comes, I think these were like $8.99 or $9.99. Look for the coupon, you might get them less. And it comes with a 5-pack of extra blades. So good little hobby knife. I've been using this quite a bit since I picked it up. And Harbor Freight Tools has a lot of stuff for hobbyists as well, but I really like this one. And like I said, it don't roll away too easily on you. It'll stop. While we're on something that's with handles there, this one is another little thing that I'm not sure where I got this years ago, but I want to say I've seen something similar at Harbor Freight, but this thing is what I use to apply putty most of the time. And I do occasionally, when I want to get down to the cracks and crevices, put one of my I save those old blades from the number 11s. I'll put in here that I want to get into a little area, and put a little bit of putty on the end and use this to apply it as well. But for the most part, this is what I apply all the putty to most of my projects with. And like I said, you can find these at Harbor Freight as well. When it comes time to clean, sprue up, get the stuff off the trees, this old pair of Zurons I have had for eons. I did make the mistake of cutting wire one day with it, so you can see there's a little nick right there. But they still work just fine. They still cut very clean and are still very sharp. And these are, like I said, quite a few years old, and you can see you can see that on them. They're pretty worn out. But recently, I was told I needed to try the Tamiya, and I got to tell you guys, I love these things. Now, this is an expensive little set of nippers, but you know what? You pay for quality. I mean, talk about a clean cut. Watch this. Can you even see where the line is? These things are not only sharp, they are excellent cutters. If you watch Barbatos Rex, you see that there's a variety of these things out there that have like flat on one end, and it's more of a flush cut. I've never had an issue or problem with these. These things are just extremely sharp, and I'm very careful on what I use them, only for sprue. When it comes to removing body lines, mold lines from bodies and things like that, I think we all are pretty much in the same boat as far as using sandpaper. And I keep in stock in my sandpaper stash everything from 320 all the way to 2000. And I primarily use 400 when I'm cleaning everything up and I water sand it, the body mold lines, things like that. But occasionally 320, but most of the time it is 400 and up from there. But sandpaper goes without speaking. But there's also something I love to use when I'm using or working on chassis, engines, things like that, to remove mold lines, and that's sanding sticks. Now, these are from Stevens International that I get at my local hobby shop, but there's other manufacturers that make these as well. They come in a variety of grits. Here's a new pack I just picked up, and this is 7 different grits, and these two did come out of that. And you can see they're getting a little worn, so I picked up another pack. But these are very invaluable. And, you know, I've seen people using everything from fingernail file type emery boards, that type of stuff. Hey, if it works, and by all means. In fact, I may even try that sometime. But sanding sticks are a great thing to have. And they do make life a lot easier when it comes to sanding and cutting. When I'm drilling out spark plug wire holes, things like that, well, I jumped over something real quick. My 3M sanding pen. This little sanding pen is awesome. You need to get into a crack or crevice or corner. This thing will do it. This is a really super stiff fiberglass strands. And you get this thing out and get into a little corner, and you can sand right away. This thing is, I don't know of a single project in the last 10 years that I've not used this on. But there is a warning, and that is this thing wears out just like sandpaper does. And as you sand, it's going to create a residue, fiberglass strands. There was a time I'd take, and when I was finished, I'd just take and do this. Don't do that, because you'll get that stuff all in your hand. Use a wet paper towel or something to wipe down after that. It's worth the mess. It really is. But let me tell you, this thing is absolutely fantastic. And when you wear this one out, you can get replacements. Now, this is the 3M brand sanding pen, but I haven't been able to find one of these lately, other than Harbor Freight has it in, or I think Lowe's. There was somewhere else I saw it too. And it's still called a sanding pen, but it's under a different name. And in the little handle down here where you run this up, as you see, inside the handle, you have another, and you see how long that is. And this is very rigid. It's very stiff fiberglass strands. But like I said, be careful when you're using it, because it does leave the residue of that fiberglass behind. But when you need to get into tight spaces, that's the way to do it right there. Now, when I'm drilling out spark plug wires, things like that, I got this set at Harbor Freight. It comes 2 to a pack, just like this. These are all different sizes. There's 2 of each. For example, this one is the equivalent to a number 72 drill bit, which is your spark plug wire size. And these things, guys, are extremely sharp. In fact, I just do them like this. I rarely ever put them in a motor tool. When you get down to the really tiny ones, you definitely don't want to put them in a motor tool, because they will, if you get just slightly off, you'll snap one. And these aren't that expensive, but they're really, really good little tools. And you can get them in, you see, the larger sizes as well. Motor tools. I have a multi-speed Dremel that I use quite a bit, and even on its lowest setting, sometimes if you put something like this or some things in them when you're running them, you can start to melt things at a high speed, especially when you're dealing with plastic, so you don't want to do that. So I just use the hand drills. You see this little drip bit in here, and you can just do that. When it comes to motor tools, this one from Tack Life is absolutely fantastic. You can go to Art Lasky and check out Art's stuff there, and you're going to find, or Scale Pro Shop. Also, while you're over there, pick you up a dead center drill starter. This thing is worth its weight in gold, guys. This thing is absolutely fantastic for centering up something that you're getting ready to drill out with those micro bits or whatever it is. When you need to make sure it is dead center, this thing is the only way to go. I love this thing. But this also is from Art Lasky as well. But the Tack Life, now check this lowest speed. You hear it? It starts off high, then drops down. I don't know if you can hear it. And your next speed, and then high. And even at that, you're at a lower speed than the Dremel at its lowest setting. And this thing is absolutely, I don't know since I've had this, a project that I have not used it on. Whether it's been with the occasionally a drill bit, one of the larger drill bits, whether it's been the cutting wheel, whatever it is, this is a low enough speed that you're not going to melt the plastic. When you're opening up exhaust ports and things like that, and you're using the, let's see if I can get that to focus. I think they call that the microball grinder. Perfect for this. Absolutely awesome. And most everything that you can put in a Dremel, you can put in this. And again, 3 speeds, just absolutely fantastic. You just plug it in, charge it up, and off you go again. I've had this one for a year and a half, maybe. Year and a half, and like I said, there's not a single project I have done that I have not used this on. And it's a whole lot smaller than the Dremel, and it's easier to use, and I just love that thing. So Art, thank you, my friend. Next up is measuring devices. When I'm scratch building and measuring out stuff that I need, for example, the chassis on the Mustang or the telephone booth roof off the floor, all that stuff, I use my Murphy's rule a lot. This thing you can get at Harbor Freight dirt cheap. It's got a little clip that goes in your pocket on it. In fact, I've got like 3 of these on the bench. But if you need to score something to cut, there's your straight edge. It's metal. It's a big, helpful tool, big time. Then my dial calipers. This one I've had for 30-something years. It's in one thousandths. I just love this thing. But recently I picked up one because I needed to do some millimeter measuring, and this one is from Harbor Freight. It was like $9.99. They make this in aluminum that has one more function than this one does for like $19.99. On this particular day, I guess I was just cheap, because usually I would have gotten that one, but this one has done a great job for me. When you turn it on, you can set it. Now, as you see, this one is set to millimeters, and if you wanted to, you can go into inches. So a really great little tool around here, and I will use these to transfer the size over to the Murphy's rule, and then use the Murphy's rule on the chopper, which I'm going to get to here in a minute too. When it comes to cutting plastic, once you get your measurements done, I use a couple of things. First of all, this is the Zona razor saw. Excuse me. I've got 2 or 3 of these things. One that's got a deeper blade. You can also get a miter box for these. If you remember when I cut the Mustang to get that droop in the nose, this was the saw I used. I also used this saw when I did the cut on the David Pearson, the Polar Lights Torino Talladega. This was the saw I used. Now, if you need and this is only 2 thousandths thick. I mean, this thing is really small, or 2 millimeters, excuse me. And I think in thousandths, this one that's zeroed. This one is 10 thousandths. So it is a very thin razor saw. If you need something smaller than that, though, this is one of those other handles, and as you can see, I hope you can see, the saw blade, and I don't know if that's going to focus, guys, but there is a saw blade on this, a micro saw blade. You can get these from a couple different sources. I like the ones that are they're on a photo etch fret, and they are different shapes and configurations from Model Car Garage. You just cut them out. They'll chuck right into your hobby knife handle. And you can just go right to it, and man, they hold the edge on the blade there very, very well. And there you go, nice clean cut. But for a little razor saw, these things will let you get into some areas too. But a good little investment. They're not really expensive at all. Next up is my contour gauge. This one is made by General. This one is a really old one. It's got the metal splines that are close together. If you need to cut something or get something to a particular shape to replicate, if you remember when I did my NASCAR chassis from scratch, we used it as well as some body panels, things like that. You can just get whatever shape, transfer it over. I'm trying to find something here I can use real quick, guys. All right, let's use this oil pan right here. You see the configuration there, and we want to duplicate that shape on that oil pan. As you can see, we take that out. Now, if that was something I wanted to, let's say, cut out a piece of a section for the cross member underneath or between those spots in the oil pan, what I would do is transfer. The way I usually do it is I transfer this shape over to a piece of cardstock, like a 3x5 card. I cut it out. I check it on the body as against the engine, the oil pan, whatever. And then if everything is good, then I'll go ahead and transfer it onto sheet plastic, and then I'll make my cuts on the sheet plastic and go in. If you recall, I did that a lot with that Corvette project. So this thing is absolutely awesome. Inside wheel wells, things like that, I make them using this. If you wanted to create bulkheads for the inside of a car, for example, we'll use this Mustang right here, for example. I want to create a bulkhead right here where the wheel well would be. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, I'm going to push it right in there. And that gives me that shape that would give a flush fit, just like you would find. Because, you know, when we look at models, you see there's a gap between this, and as a model car goes, that's fine. But if you want to make it more accurate, then you do that, and then you can build that bulkhead and glue that in there, and boom. Great little tool to have. And you can find these online. You can find these at a number of places as well. A lot of them, like I said, have plastic splines in them now. This old one has a lot of those little metal splines in it. But this is a tool that I use a lot. Used it a lot on the Mustang. I actually used it even on the phone booth when I was reconfiguring how I was going to do one of the doors. And one of my favorite tools that I use on every single project is the chopper. This thing is worth its weight in gold too. You've got these little ears up here that you can open up. It comes with a 45, 90, different degree angles that you can clamp down on in here, and you can make your cuts there. This has a regular razor blade in it, and in the 15-20 years I've had this thing, this might be the third blade that's been in there. But if you want a straight, clean cut, you get your measurements, as I was saying, whether it's from the Murphy's rule, whether it's from the dial calipers. You put your plastic in there once you get where it needs to be, kind of get that mark, boom, that's it. And this is made by Northwest Shortline. This I've had a long time, as I said, and it has done me a lot of good. I've had a lot of fun with this thing too, just scratch building. If you recall from the NASCAR chassis again, this thing got a big time workout on that. Photo etch. A lot of people use photo etch, and myself included, and I always used these really long needle nose pliers when it came time to get them in here and make bends in my photo etch. And it did okay. But over time, I was introduced to a couple of tools, and how I used to remove photo etch from the frets was I would put them on a piece of tape so they didn't go flying everywhere, and I would take a fresh X-Acto blade, which you're just ruining them, by the way, and cut them, and then you've got to sand or use your sanding stick or sandpaper to clean them up a little bit. Well, these Xuron photo etch scissors are awesome. You can get these down in there and just make your cut nice, clean, crisp. Be careful, they are very sharp up here, and they're very sharp in here too. I have learned that over the years both ways, and these are a number of years old too, but when it comes to cleaning up photo etch, these things are awesome. Bending photo etch, as I said, I'd use those long nose or the needle nose there for a long time, and then I found the Etch Mate. Now this thing is aluminum, and when it comes to bending photo etch, this thing is awesome. I still have it set for the long here. But normally it's on here like this, and what you do is you take your photo etch, once you get it off your fret or off the sprue, then you see this little groove down in here. You put your photo etch in whichever one fits, and it comes with a razor blade, and you take your razor blade and you put it underneath your whatever you're bending into that slot, and then bend it up. Works absolutely great. Now, someone asked recently, how did I do that that long bend in this spoiler for the Mustang, that slight bend there. This is what I used. And aside photo etch, I do bend plastic on it. What I did was I took this off the way I had it on there just a minute ago, and turned it around. That way I've got the length, and we took our, oops, I got it too tight, photo etch, or excuse me, sheet plastic. We got it in there, tightened it down, and then all I did was take my razor blade in the groove, and a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. And there you go. It makes life so much easier. And to do something this long, as you see, this wouldn't have worked. It's not long enough. But the Etch Mate is probably one of the most expensive tools I have on the workbench. This little piece of work, I think back when I bought it, was like $65. And maybe they've gone down, maybe they're up even more. I don't know. But it's been worth, for me, as much as I do photo etch and bending of plastic into specific shapes and angles and things like that. This has been a good little tool. Really, really like it. And tweezers, I have 3 pair that I absolutely love to use. I also use forceps. I use a lot of things like that. I've got several other sets of tweezers, but these from Tweezer Man, when I'm doing really small stuff, has a nice coating here, an absolutely precision grip. I don't know that I've ever dropped anything with these. This is my go-to right here, and I've got another couple of pairs that I use quite a bit too. When I'm tucking and moving stuff, you see this one, and these are really, really old too. I couldn't tell you the years I've had these, but they've got a good grip to them. And then I've got some suture tweezers that have the, if you can see the teeth there, that lock into each other. These are good for picking up certain things, but certain things you don't want to use them for because they'll pop out. These are not good for photo etch, but I do use all 3 of those quite often. Another great tool when you're scribing and cutting open doors and panel lines is the Tamiya plastic scriber. This thing comes with extra blade in the handle as well. It's really sharp, and when it comes to rescribing, this thing is designed perfectly for that. So when sometimes you'll get that extra paint in the door seams and the deck lid. You want to go before time and make that a little bit deeper so it gives you a little more depth, more reality to it, so to speak. But a great little tool for opening panels and as well as deepening them as well. Then, and I think almost every project I've used this one. I haven't used it on the phone booth. That's the only one I think I haven't used it on. But that is the punch set. And this one is from Micromart. There are several brands out there. But this one, you have these little stainless rods. And as you see, you have a plate, clear plate, and then you have these 9 holes there, and these correspond to that. You put your piece of sheet plastic, and I have cut decals, punched them to get a nice circle. Clear plastic, but plastic, and you pick out the size you need for whatever you're doing. You see this tiny one here. I've even made little rivets with a piece of a Coke can. Pop that in there and pop it, different the sizes, but just really good stuff. And then you, as I said, take your corresponding size, and then once you get your plastic under there, tap it a few times, And there you go. But this one gets used quite a bit too. And this one again is from Micromark. They have a great website too when it comes to micro tools. And the other thing in small tools is jeweler's files. You can get these at Harbor Freight. You can get these on at a lot of places. I need to clean up. Well, I was using this one this morning, as you can see. I've got a set of about a dozen jeweler's files, but these 5 or 6 I use more than any of them. But really, really good tools. And guys, I'm not going to get into clamps and all that other stuff right now, but that's pretty much it on the specialty tools that I like to use anyway. And there are some really good ones out there. And hey, if you've got something you want to share that I didn't share today or may not know about, that's one of the great things about this community is we share with each other, we help each other out by sharing our knowledge and information. But that's the stuff that Hobby Dude uses just about on every project, and it's really, really some good stuff for me anyway. But if you got something easier, quicker, hey, I'm always ready to listen. Guys, thanks so much. Appreciate you. Love you. God bless. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.